Hello, everyone, and welcome. I am so thrilled to have you here tonight. This is the second episode of Words and Friends. I am your host, Sara Matson, and I'm really thrilled to be here tonight. I get to hang out with some of my favorite writers, and it is such a joy and a gift. Tonight's incredible readers include Gregory Glenn, Ashley Cornelius, Kristin Lueke, Quintin Collins, Joe Hall, Exodus Oktavia Brownlow, Danika Stegeman. And that is such an amazing lineup. I'm really thrilled to have you here tonight. Let me start just by real quick introducing myself. Hi, I'm Sara Matson. I am a poet in Chicago. I started this series because poetry and writing really are my passions, my obsession, and meeting incredible folks that write is just really one of my favorite things. I'm really grateful for your time and energy in being here tonight. Thank you all the folks that are reading. Thank you all the folks that are watching us live, or if you're watching this recorded on YouTube, amazing, thank you. I also want to thank my wonderful husband, Jeff, for his amazing tech knowledge and forever support. Also, the use of the Zoom account and cat wrangling, very important. Incredible audience. When you love what you hear tonight, because you will, please, if you are able, consider purchasing the writer's work, purchase their books, attend their workshops, share their posts on social media. My favorite thing about the internet is connection. So I'm really over the moon that we have so many folks here tonight from across the country. It's really amazing. So I'm going to be putting everyone's websites on the chat and also in the description of the video on YouTube. So check out their stuff. It's amazing. And just on a quick note, before we begin, I would like to use this platform to continue to demand an immediate and permanent ceasefire in Gaza. If you would like assistance in getting your voice heard, please feel free to reach out to me for resources online or in person. I also have information on how you can assist folks in the Republic of Congo that are facing a humanitarian crisis. Now and forever, Slava Ukraina, fuck Putin. That being said, I would love to get into some amazing writing tonight. So it gives me great joy to introduce our first writer, Gregory Glenn. Gregory Glenn is a writer and performer based in Massachusetts. His work can be found in Soundings East, Drunk Monkeys, Poetry Soup Magazine, Molecule Tiny Lit, Hard Work of Hope, and he is one of 5 poets featured in the anthology 9 by 5, 2022, Only Human Press. He has featured on WGBH's Outspoken Saturdays, Mass Poetry's U35, Nightlight Poetry, Speak Up, Poetry Soup, and Performance Anxiety. Greg can be found on social media at hi_thisisgreggy and unpopularwriter.com. I met Gregory through fantastic poet and host of the Nightlight reading series, Tom Snarsky, and we became fast pals, sending each other photos of our ridiculously adorable cats. So please join me in welcoming Gregory Glenn.
Hi, everyone. If I take one of these out, can everyone still hear me? Okay. Okay. I don't even know if they're coming through my headphones. Thank you, Sara, for having me. Thank you, everybody, for coming in and watching this and for reading. Does everybody here know what a mouse is? Like the small animal? I have gallery up so I can see everybody if you're nodding or not. I can also tell if you're lying. 3 of the poems I'm gonna read tonight feature mice. But just to put your mind at ease, there are no jump scares or anything if you're scared of mice. It's just words that I'm reading. So mind your imagination. If you're scared of mice, you can imagine something different if you want. Whenever I say the word mouse or mice. And anyway, this first poem is called Waiting for the Mouse. See what I mean? Waiting for the mouse. For the last 2 or 3 weeks, one of our cats has been stalking a mouse in the walls upstairs. This has been our first mouse since we started living together, and a house can only do so much to resist the natural world. Maybe a house is the best kind of insurance we have against going feral ourselves and either killing each other or getting along or just watching each other. It's hard to say, but we've already started all that anyway, and now the cat is here, walking along the walls, waiting for the mouse to find some kind of opening, make an escape, and there's no telling if he'll kill it or not, or if he'll get along with it or just watch it. He's probably never even seen a mouse before, except when we've shown him pictures of mice, movies of mice, or any of the dozens of toy mice we've given him in his 7 years of life, but never a mouse in the flesh, unless it was when we were sleeping. And I guess it's worth noting here that flora and fauna, cats and mice, all still occur while we're sleeping, as if in a dream, as if in a joke. And has any object in a joke ever laughed from the inside? People say God has a sense of humor. Every punchline needs its animal. We've been waiting. Watch it. Here it comes, escaping through joke after joke, through fields of jokes, getting away, disappearing off the tongue alive into the nebula of laughter we weren't meant to survive, that we've all feared. Uh, these next couple of poems, I don't think I've ever read, like shared. But I've been kind of tinkering with them for a couple of years, so I don't know if that makes them new shit or not. Hopefully they're not just shit. But admittedly, in my effort to not read the same stuff over and over again, I'm scraping the bottom of the barrel for you folks. But bear in mind, sometimes there's really good stuff down there at the bottom of the barrel. Gum, maybe, I don't know. Do you ever notice how gum, like under the table or under the bench, somehow magically gets its flavor back? You guys are freaks. This is called value. I am a little mouse, a baby. I don't know how else to tell you this. You were maybe passing through quickly. I was lying in a pool of sand, a natural ashtray beside a rusted dumpster that was manufactured once, new once. You scoop me in your hand, you carry me a small way, unsure of what to do. You don't know how to tell who, some coworkers, a stranger, someone else on the phone, your parents if you still have them. You want to maybe tell them how you found me, how really we found each other, and whoever it is, if they can speak, they will tell you in words you can understand to leave me. Leave me there. It's too much trouble, so much uncertainty, except for the certainty of loss, this one, that there is no hope. It is just a mouse. That's it. I am. And who knows if I brought any joy to anyone, enough joy to make me worthy of salvation in an already big, intrasnaldably big world, a world with too much space for something small and dying. If I were human enough, I might ask voicelessly if I go, what makes God smile? Just a small mouse dying, here lying in your hand when I leave, I will know. You may have noticed a fancy word in there. That was a poem I wrote while I was falling asleep once, and when I was drifting off, I wrote the word intrasnoutably, which didn't exist until then, and I've just kept it in there. And I think you all know what I mean by intrasnoutably. Here's another poem, believe it or not. This one is called Hold On, and in it I reference John 14:2 from the Bible. So when I say John, that's what I mean, not just some guy John, or maybe my dad who was named John, or both. I don't know. Hold on. God will thank you for your patience, and you will go into God's hands, the little mouse you are, have always been. God takes you into the next room, and like John said to you, there are many rooms here, but none are what you'd think. Just normal rooms. In fact, this one that God takes you into, you've seen it before, and not so long ago as you might think. And God tells you, yes, that part is over, and now it is time to really actually die. But first, you become a pencil. The routine is familiar now. Brand new, you are dull and useless, but you will be sharpened to a useful point and dulled again many times until there is nothing left to you and you are discarded, more or less unceremoniously. But God says, don't worry about it. God says it won't end fast. God says you may be the pencil of a great thinker with many ideas that they never write down, and you may have a good long life ahead of you gathering dust. Did you know there is this elephant in the Bronx Zoo and it's been there for decades? And a couple of years ago, the New York State Court of Appeals ruled against releasing the elephant. And I guess people were saying if they ruled in favor of the elephant, and this is from NPR, it would open up the floodgates for other legal actions on behalf of farm animals, slaughter animals, pets, and stuff. And the court said, while no one disputes that elephants are intelligent beings deserving of proper care and compassion, a writ of habeas corpus is intended to protect the liberty of human beings and does not apply to non-human animals. Isn't that crazy? If only they weren't called elephants, right? And you know what the elephant's name is Happy. Doesn't that fucking rule? I was just thinking of elephants because, you know, like mice and elephants and stuff. I'm not any better at naming stuff. And this next poem does that thing where the title is also the first line of the poem. You know what's crazy? Is you're not allowed to go outside and scream. You can do that, but you know, someone is going to call the cops, someone is going to shoot you or something, but you're allowed to nod. It's perfectly fine and it's accepted, even preferred to just nod. Yes, yeah, yeah, nod and swallow, smile and swallow and nod, yeah, yeah, yeah. It's nice to nod. It just moves it all along, guides it all down the drain. I think everyone just wants it all to go down the drain. And if you nod, it can do that. You can nod and then you can do anything you want, do anything you can imagine, but just don't scream, not now. That's a little crappy one. I apologize. That went down the drain. So the last poem I'm gonna read is a poem about my cat simulating a sexual act. In fact, the sexual act, sex, you know, with the very blanket that my partner and I sleep under every night. But if you're a true poetry appreciator, I'm sure you'll find that it's about a little more than just that. Catch up. With apologies to Warren Schulberg. Our cat does this thing where he gets on the bed and he bites the comforter. Well, actually, it's more accurate to say that he delicately pinches it between his teeth because the rest of what he does with it, I suppose at least to him, is very tender. And so I am reading this article about Sears and Kmart in Forbes magazine, which uses words like incredible, woeful, and alarming to describe the declining number of Sears and Kmart retail locations in America, where they had at one time each been its largest retailers. And the cat is giving the comforter his love bite, and he starts kneading. He just goes crazy kneading, purring, snarling, staring ahead at me, and kneading. I used to think it was some kind of leftover nursing behavior from when he was taken, maybe prematurely, from his mother, which I know sounds very sad, though it probably saved his life. But what's sadder to me is how clever people get when they write their own biographies, and how this practice now extends to outlets like Forbes magazine, as if analyzing and documenting retail stores unironically is artful or compelling or necessary. Or actually, I remember one time standing in South Station, I heard someone on the phone talking about someone they knew in accounting who they described as being a rock star in their profession, as if rock and roll had anything to do with it, as if rock and roll had anything to do with anything. And I guess that's where we've arrived at. We'll put ketchup on anything and call it food, and expect and sometimes demand that people eat it. But the reason the cat bites the blanket like this is because when cats have sex with each other, the male bites the female's neck to induce a latent reflexive response in the female to keep her still. Like when a cat picks up a kitten by its scruff, it is actually a defensive maneuver on the part of the biting cat to make sure neither cat gets hurt. And so that's what my cat cat is doing. He's fucking the brains out of this comforter, and he does it all the time. And I don't know why. I don't know what it is about the comforter that's so sexy to him, and I don't think I want to know either. Even the part of me that wants to know doesn't want to know. And so I finish reading this article and I look up and the cat is finished fucking the blanket and he's licking the ghost of his nuts. And I say, it's just unbelievable that with everything going on in the world, that someone would want to write something like this, that they would think anyone would want to read something like this, that they would think this is important enough to share with humanity. But here we are. Thank you very much. I love you.
Thank you so much, everyone. That was Gregory Glenn. You can find him at unpopularwriter.com. Sorry, that name makes me laugh. You can also find him on Instagram and other social media at _ this is Greggy, Greggi. Thank you so much, Greg. That was wonderful. Excellent. I am thrilled to introduce our next wonderful writer, Ashley Cornelius. Ashley Cornelius performs regularly across Colorado and prides herself on community engagement. Ashley is the co-director of Poetry 719, a Black-led poetry group lifting the voices of marginalized communities and BIPOC folks through poetry in Colorado Springs. Ashley is a therapist and believes poetry is a powerful modality for healing. I found Ashley's amazing work on Instagram back in February, where she posted really brilliant, insightful reels of affirmations for Black History Month, as well as the following month, affirmations for Women's History Month. If you're local to Colorado Springs, Ashley is co-hosting the event Rest as Resistance Community Nap in July. You can find more of Ashley's work and info about signing up for Rest as Resistance at ashleycornelius.com. Please join me in welcoming Ashley Cornelius.
Hey, thank you. Thanks so much. I am so happy to be here and share some work with you all. The majority of my poetry is about the intersections of my identity. So we're just going to be like building my body and who I am throughout all of these poems. And so I'm going to start with this new poem about how I identify. Here we go. I identify as a threat. I am a woman who knows her worth. I am nightmare fuel for those dreaming of the good old days. I am the rich man you told me to marry. I am the ooga booga bitch you thought lived in the closet. I am stepping out into the light to indoctrinate people into being their full selves. I drink from their water fountains and spit at the feet of those who said, I will cut off this right arm of mine before I will ever work or demand the ballot for the Negro and not the woman. I am here to steal your jobs and redistribute power to the disenfranchised. I have read all the banned books. I will write books that will get banned. I am CRT. I will get into the most prestigious institutions all on merit. I will use every system that you are afraid I will abuse. I will make it all about race. And I am a loose woman, a slut, a hoe, a whore, and I still wouldn't look in your direction. I will seduce your man and your woman with my exotic features. I am a better leader than you, but you call me aggressive because you are intimidated. Correction, you call me aggressive because you are uneducated. I am promoting obesity, if that means living in my body and loving its form. I am everything that's wrong with America, and yet I am everything that is right with me. Thank you. Yeah, a lot of my work is about Blackness and womanness and queerness and all of these things. And I am the poet laureate in the Pikes Peak region right now in Colorado Springs, and I'm the first Black person to ever hold that. And so a lot of what I say is like, just being poet laureate as a Black, fat, queer woman is like it. I don't really need to write any poems. My existence is the poetry, and everything else I do is a gift to the rest. So I love being able to share more about myself. So this next one is a love letter that I wrote to my body, to my hips. Y'all can't see me, but got a little curve back there. And growing up, I didn't see people who looked like me or had the same body shape. And so also an invitation to other folks to write a love letter to a part of your body that needs a little extra love. And so this is called Dear Hips. Dear hips, you are one bad bitch. I mean, the way you knock things off tables, it's like you were born to fight. Born to be outlandish. You sway like politician platforms, and I am in awe of you. Hourglass me and tick time in my womb. You seduce these wanting eyes and push out our next generation of warriors. Dear hips, you keep my spirits up, you keep my fanny pack up, and I got mad respect for your symmetry. As J. Cole says, one time for the LA sisters, one time for the LA hoes, but you make me both. See, I'm a natural girl with kinky curl, stretch marks, cocoa butter, and no filter. And I'm a hoe in a push-up bra, fake nails, and someone else's eyelashes. See, I am duality. You are duality. Allow me to transition all chrysalis and kaleidoscope. And I don't show you enough love. I try to push you in, hoping to restrain you, but you pop back like pop rocks and pop up street cats that catcall these big bones, and all y'all show love to these thick thighs. And it's time that I start praying and giving reverence to my whole body, to my ladies, to these hips. Thank you. I am so grateful also in the beginning of this of naming the immediate ceasefire and a free Palestine and Congo and the continuous like free liberation of all folks. And so I'm going to read this poem that I wrote. I love an extended metaphor poem. It's like all I write. It's my favorite thing. And have y'all seen Avatar: The Last Airbender, the like cartoon? Yeah, it's sensational. It's perfect. It's everything. And so that inspired me to write about this episode in Avatar: Last Airbender. And again, for a free Palestine. There is no war in Ba Sing Se. There is no genocide in Palestine, just like there is no war in Ba Sing Se. We hear gunfire, and the Dali tell us it is fireworks. We see children dead in the streets. They tell us they are sleeping. We see bombs falling from the sky. They tell us to look away. We scream at the disregard for human life, and they tell us we are too loud. We call for a ceasefire, and they tell us there are no guns. We see the silencing of information, and they tell us there is nothing to report. We stand against the oppressors, and they tell us we are racist. We tell them we must act now. They tell us there is no time for this. We insist they cannot hide the truth from us. They said the truth is subjective. We show empathy and love to the victims, and they said we'd be killed for our identities if we lived there. They tell us this is for our own good. They tell us ignorance is the same as freedom. They take us underground. They oscillate the lights and hypnotize us until we all start to say, there is no war in Ba Sing Se. Free Palestine. I truly deeply believe, like, I'm very much a blurred and like love anime and cartoons and all this stuff, and largely it's because it's one of our like oldest ways of commentary on things like war and colonization and white supremacy and racism. Like, it is baked into our culture, and so many people like understand X-Men and why mutants are being treated poorly, but don't get why queer people are treated poorly, why Black and brown folks are being treated poorly, why folks with disabilities. And so there's this line. And so I think poetry and using that can help people understand, like, we have been fighting for justice for such a long time. It is in all the things that we do. And how can art get us closer to those understandings and those realizations? I'm going to read this next poem that saved my life. Again, I love extended metaphors. This is called Big Bang Expansive, and it's all about space. She is Big Bang expansive, takes up universal presence, is not colonized by man. She emits meteorite laughter. She cries constellations in her smile, supernova combustion. But over time, she learns to be more planet than galaxy, notices her meteorite laughter burning up in the atmosphere of his presence, told her body's boundary rings are not welcome between his space, told to revolve around someone else's sun. sucked into his gravitational pull, told her sonic voice will never escape his black hole. She is eclipsed. Eclipsed by his shadow, she is easy to forget, but she is fireball nebulous. Her solar flares have a way of disrupting his darkness. The speed of light can't escape a black hole, and she's never slowed down. She dances northern lights and sings solar system hymns, grabbed asteroid belt around her Milky Way and reclaimed her space. Her halo can be seen for light years. Her body is expanding to the outer limits. Her meteorite laughter is fucking shit up. She is more galaxy than planet. She is Big Bang expansive. She always has been. Thank you. We are gonna keep it moving, and we're gonna talk about my period, menstruation. Let's go. I think I'm a therapist, and wild stuff around like human body and psychology in terms of like women, femme folks who have a uterus, lunatic, hysterical, like so many things. And also there's not a lot of research into a lot of things that happen for folks who have uteruses. And my period for a long time, if I got on a plane, I got my period. If I was in a different like environment, like it, and they were just like, we have no clue what's going on. And I wrote this angrily about the healthcare system, and that, yeah, my period deserves a lot of respect. And this is what I think she has to say. My period is a rogue witch. She doesn't give a fuck about the moon and her cycles. She bleeds when she wants, for as long as she wants. My period smudges with weed and makes protection spells with the ground bones of racist men. My period has been known to stab a bitch. And by bitch, I do mean me. She twists the knife so I know who's in control. Calls herself an artist. Her medium, finger paints. Uses my insides and favorite panties as her canvas. Her idea of a good time is Hennessy and trap music. Makes beats with the sound of white women crying at the consequences of their own actions. Twerks to the continuous beat of women breaking the glass ceiling. My period doesn't like change unless it's caused by her. She invented CP time, and she comes unexpectedly and expects to be greeted warmly. She says, fuck the patriarchy. Reminds me who brought me into this world. She is the matriarchy. My period is sensitive and shit. Loves romance novels and the smell of lavender. My period is insecure. Is tired of being called disgusting and nasty. Is broken from being taxed in order to maintain her health. She is angry at the audacity, at the misinformation, at the toxic shock syndrome, at the rough coffin, as if I haven't picked enough cotton for a lifetime. My period has a lighter in one hand and a Molotov cocktail in the other and says, try me. My period deserves some goddamn respect. Thank you. Yeah. Next up is a poem about weed. And this is like my favorite poem I've ever written. It took me years to write this poem. In Colorado, in some parts, weed is legal, and a lot of the taxes go to a lot of things, including a lot of like youth programs and schools. And I have worked historically with young people for a really long time, and almost always, and I do poetry, these kids are like, well, I'm more creative when I smoke, miss, so I need to smoke in order to write poetry. And I was like, I really want to write a poem like explaining like smoking as if it's creativity. And like people aren't more creative when they smoke weed. There's just a part of your brain that's turned off. And so you're less critical about yourself and more open. And you can shut off those ways in your brain with other reasons. So I wrote this poem called Smoky Poems about what if the process of smoking weed was actually just like accessing your creativity. This is one of my favorites. Smoky Poems. When asked if you want to get high, say yes. Rip a page from an old notebook full of confessions and catharsis. Grab a bag of creativity you keep hidden. Smell it. Tickle your nose with the budding possibilities. The scent of your word lingers. Pack a generous amount of your imagination. Lick the edge of the page. Let the line run across your tongue like a dull blade. Remember how far you've come and all the times you chose paper and pen to dull your pain instead of a razor. Roll it tight. Don't let any part of your ability go to waste. We are in the business of using every ounce of your potential. Cradle the masterpiece in the corner of your mouth. Grab a lighter. Ignite your words and watch them catch fire. Notice the letters lifting on the rolled page and be reborn. See how your stories take shape in the smoke. The spirits of poetry dance for your amusement in the air. Breathe deep and inhale. Fill your lung with sonnets, haikus, free verse, and prose. You will cough. This is normal. Your body is reminding you that it's okay to let things go, that releasing is just as beautiful and necessary as retaining. Now pass. Allow others to be filled with your literary language. Invite them into your mind. Make them witness the way poetry has saved you. Their experience will be different. The spirits will dance to a new beat in the air, but it's all connected. The efforts of your words will gradually come, slowing down time and motion. And isn't that what good poetry is supposed to do? Grant you permission from Father Time to run a line back and really listen. Each puff provides clarity, the ability to see someone else's perspective. Imagine being in a room full of smoky poems and seeing clearly for the first time. Your poetry is healing relief from the chronic pain of oppression, marginalization, and repression, a doorway to rest and rejuvenation. Your poetry is a Schedule I drug. So powerful, the government wants to regulate your voice, knows how influential your stories can be. And when you come to the end of your message and the flames kiss your lips, lick them, taste the remnants of your expression. Give thanks you saw your stories transform before you. Shake off the ashes of your suffering, suffocate the embers, and begin again. Thank you. I think I have time for one more that I'm gonna close out with, which is another one of my faves. Again, I love an extended metaphor because it's so easy to me. I'm just like, great, we're writing about weed. All I can talk about is weed. We're writing about space, that's it. So it feels like a cheat code for me when writing poetry. But this last one is one of my favorites. It's called Commit Poetry. As a Black person, there's a lot of stereotypes and preconceived notions that I'm going to commit a crime. I get followed in stores, I get pulled over. There's just like all of this stuff around crime. And I was like, well, I can't change necessarily people's perception of me sort of as a stranger, but what I can do is I'm going to commit to poetry. Like that's the thing that I'm going to commit, that you're going to expect from me, that I'm just going to like dive so deep into this. So this is all about poetry and crime. Yeah, and I love it. Okay, here we go. Commit poetry. Expose your inner thoughts to willing participants. Burn down the stage and leave it smoldering. Let the ashes of your words permeate this space. You will be the main suspect in a series of fires. Your arson tongue has no plans of stopping. Snatch attention and edges, steal gasps, rob the audience of their misinformation, replace it with your premeditated experiences. Murder the mic and bury the body in the back of your mind with the rest of your trauma. Do not go quietly. Scream, not guilty, with your fingers crossed behind your back. Aggravate society with the assault of your sound. Arm yourself with literary devices, shotgun similes and musket metaphors. Drop symbolism bombs. Throw tear gas vulnerability. Use your sharp lines to cut a bitch. Throw your fist in the air as a warning shot. Distribute your voice like dime bags. Be the plug the community needs. Get high on your own supply. Know the value of your product, the way it makes the consumer feels when they snort each line. Your shit is pure. And take the money and skip town. Wash it clean, launder it out to dry, and use it to buy back your hostage voice. Pay off your insecurities. Assume a new identity. Cut your hair. Change your name. And walk with the confidence of a mediocre white man. Hustle your speech, disturb the peace, incite vernacular revolution, riot in between the lines of your sheets, picket with your pen, fuck the policing of expression, resist silence, vandalize the history books and rewrite the narratives, break the sound system and commit poetry. Thank you all so much. I appreciate y'all listening to my words. And thank you, Sarah, for this beautiful opportunity.
Thank you so much, Ashley. Everyone, you just heard the amazing words of Ashley Cornelius. You can find more of her work at ashleycornelius.com. That's ASHLEYCORNELIUS.com. Popping it in the chat for everyone. Thank you so much. God, that was really phenomenal. I need more period poems and weed poems immediately, all the time, forever. So thank you. Absolutely brilliant. Wow, amazing. Thank you. I'm so excited to introduce our next brilliant, wonderful writer, Kristin Lueke. Kristin Lueke is a Chicana poet living in northern New Mexico. She is the author of the chapbook Indifferent Math, published by Dancing Girl Press. Her work has appeared in Wildness, Had, Anti-Heroin Chic, Hooligan Magazine, The Santa Fe Reporter, and elsewhere. Kristin is a Best of New Poets nominee for 2024 and co-leads a woman-owned creative studio, Field of Practice. You can find Kristin as at Kluke on Instagram and Blue Sky, and her website, theanimaleats.com. I highly recommend signing up for Kristin's Substack, where you can get amazing writing directly to your email. Please, everyone, welcome Kristin Lueke.
Yo, Sarah, that was really kind. You're so generous with your space. This is an extraordinary lineup of poets to be included among. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Sarah, and thank you, the rest of you poets and all of you listeners. I really needed this today. Thank you. I'm gonna read some poems. And another thing is, you will live and go on living. Do you want to know why? Fuck's sake, it's the unburnt candles, pistachios too, 6 bundles of pine twined up with a prayer Regina gave you, that dummy big bunch of dahlias Jenny brought by in August because you once wrote a poem about fuchsia. Remember? Everything that's happened. Swimming tits out, moss mad, hot spring in the mountain, 2 dogs breathing nearby, one's your dead best friend, wanted nothing but what you could offer, proximity, party, dried lung of lamb never far from my palms, my world for a toothless mouth. You will survive and become in the time that it takes you the thing you love best, the earth. You will live to hear the horrible news again and again, the Tuesday that will suck forever, and the other Tuesday too. You will make 2,000 more questionable choices. You will kill another Calathea. Sorry. You will take 2 Sudafed with your tea, and then you will sort out the future. You'll nap. You will grieve like a feral orchid, nothing quite right and remarkable living. You can name a dozen more animals, be a river, repent, learn how to draw a magnificent horse, take back your body from every cruel thing, never once have a child you didn't want. You will wear your hair down, to hell with it all. You will go where I go, and I'm staying. Thank you. This poem is called My Husband Was an Animal. It is not based on a true story. I do not mean a metaphor. I fed him salmon in September and astonished him with weight. Told him by land, by a truck, better yet, by nothing. Watch birds and sleep 4,000 hours. I said, go ride a bicycle, and he left me for the circus. Massive with my patience, all my training, my pies. The world isn't worse, the bear I married once suggested. It's just more overwhelming. We have these brains built for berries, bumping uglies, and this we'd call a life. We're not told about catastrophe except we cannot stop it. Before my bear became a clown, I called him once my darling. Led him to the desert where the sandstone knows my name. He listened for coyotes, scratched his back well into midnight, said he saw me in the stars, how they spiral into every atom, our skin miraculous as forage fish, trickster leaves, in cemeteries, predators, yes, and my enemies. We share this long dead light, and all these questions I can't answer. Maybe the lion can. This poem is forthcoming in Porterhouse Review in the next, I don't know, month or two, maybe 3. Shit comes out when it comes out, takes the time it takes, right? Growing season. We were taught to be needed. I was only a girl when I learned to wear my heart outside my body and peel it like a clementine should the need arise. Come May, we offered our braids to the allium to listen for trouble, backs braced to spring wind, sitting in circles, knee to knee, crowns pulled to the center, woven into the earth to protect each pungent bulb. Our mothers sliced oranges into smiles to keep us well and willing. They called us mothers too, and for this we laid low with our eyes to the ground, opened our mouths into dirt, and prayed for the chance to be useful. Though I never did, I longed to wear yarrow in my teeth and ride an old mule through a canyon, sit up straight beneath an elm shade, learn to love my own shadow. I was hungry too to be eaten whole, if it meant I was just right. The season came to cut my hair and make another mother. I stole my heart into my throat and made myself a king. This one's just kind of a little weirdo. It's coming out in Kestrel sometime later this year. Who knows? It's called Conditions, under which everything might be different. If I were a key, if men were not quiet exactly, but still, if something small named sacred stayed by my side, if I knew holier eras like a friend, a crane, a coconut, what I split open could heal. If time was not a cosmonaut, not nationed, unappointed, slivered infinitely into reunion, I would unearth a softer blade, cut tunnels in dead wood, count every lizard, lose sleep to see the sunrise over a very old catastrophe. Say what I mean, dear father, cousin, beloved, still living, wake up on a wetland bleeding. I've been on the internet a really long time. Also, if you're getting married, I can marry you. I am ordained by the Universal Life Church. This poem is called Posting. I am not a hero, just a child of the universe, per my agreement with the church from online. I have cultivated and maintained several strongly held positions on where to place vases, never near a door. There's all this danger forever, yes, also happy hours. Horses, is it worse than it was? Am I bleeding? Here, I have a rectangle, and it's always in my hand. I paid $1,000, so it tells me if I'm creditworthy. It also shows me genocide. It also shows me dancing. I wake up some days already weeping, waiting for the world to get good, get real. Every year we love a different bug. I think the katydid comes next. The youths will be insufferable. God damn it, so will I. Okay. I'm gonna read 2 more poems. They're not that long. Thank you. I really like small, fucked up looking animals. You know, when they look a little fucked up, I really like it, and they're small. Here's a poem called Wild-Eyed, Alive, as Good as Loved. It's absurd and I know it. I look at the face of the Brussels Griffon and say to you, here is what's heavenly to me. This I could look at forever, my infinite jest, an entertainment without end but one, undoing by devotion. Sue me into silence, don't. I know I am difficult to take seriously, despite how serious I seem, begging you to believe anything I say at all. Why else would I bother? I would die for this dog, and to know you know me well enough by now to know even I don't know where my laughter ends and despair begins. More importantly, I don't care, so long as there's something living, small and wild-eyed, just around the corner, comically self-important. We find a way to love what we don't understand. Okay, last one. Here we go. Real light. Very fun. When I die, which I will, some instructions. This one is based on a true story. Here's what I want is more music, okay? Silk strings of found sound braided in space. When a low hum hits the root, let me ask you one question. Let me sing you 2 songs. We won't need much math. Maybe figs, a handful of cashews, a jar of late delphinium, and me, I will bring my best slippers. We will never be the emperor, but always this alive somehow and mercifully always changing. I will rot 1,000 times, feed what feeds me, and anyone who asks, I have no use for hunger. Come, bring me my food. Thank you guys so much for listening.
That was so fantastic. Thank you so much, Kristin. Everyone, you just heard the amazing words of Kristin Lueke. You can find more of her work on social media. She is at Klooky, Klooky, and her website is theanimaleats.com. Kristin, thank you so much. So amazing. Whew, I'm just feeling so amazing. I'm so inspired. We have more beautiful words to listen to. It's great. Tonight's amazing. I am so thrilled to introduce our next reader, Quintin Collins. Quintin Collins, he, him, is a writer, assistant director of the Solstice Low Residency Master of Fine Arts in Creative Writing program and a poetry editor for Salamander. His work appears in many print and online publications such as Sidereel Magazine, Superstition Review, Glass, a journal of poetry, Solstice Literary Magazine, and others. Winner of a Pushcart Prize and the 2019 Atlantis Award from the Poets Billow, Quintin's publishing accolades include multiple Best of the Net nominations, and he was a finalist for the 2020 Redivider Beacon Street Prize. Quintin's first full-length collection of poems, The Dandelion Speaks of Survival, which was a finalist for the 2020 Alice James Award and the 2021 Sheila Margaret Moughton Book Prize, is available from Cherry Castle Publishing. His second collection of poems, Claim Tickets for Stolen People, selected by Marcus Jackson as winner of the Journal's 2020 Charles B. Wheeler Poetry Prize and honor book for the Black Caucus of the American Library Association's 2023 Best Poetry Literary Award, is available from Ohio State University Press / Mad Creek Books. I was introduced to Quintin's fantastic work through Gregory Glenn, who you heard at the beginning of this evening. Greg hosted the Meg and Greg Show as part of the 2024 Nasra Yassani Poetry Festival. And I'm really, really thrilled to have you here, Quintin. Everyone, please join me in welcoming Quintin Collins.
Hey, everybody. Thank you so much, Sarah. Thank you, Greg, for hooking this up. I didn't know that that was the connection because I was curious. Always happy to share space with you. I think this is the second time we've read together now. And so, yeah, I'm going to get into some stuff that's not really new, but new to the world in the sense that it's from this manuscript I've only just recently started sending out. So there's a series of poems in the book called Generational Curses, and each one is based around this idea of taking a bit of language and remixing it toward a point. And I'm also so glad that folks have already brought like God and some angst with God into the room because that way I don't have to be the first person to do that and bring everybody down at the start. So yeah, so the first one is called Soon and Very Soon, a Generational Curse. And just the context on Soon and Very Soon for those folks who aren't as familiar with like some popular church hymns, there's this one that goes, soon and very soon, I'm going to see the king. And so this poem opens with an epigraph from another fabulous poet, Matthew E. Henry, that says, I am very hungry, am incomplete, and can no longer dine upon your weight. Soon and very soon, we're gonna see the king. Soon and very soon, we're gonna see the king. Gonna see very soon, and very soon, gonna see providence and prosperity trickle blessings soon and very soon. The king's hands full of the world, hurricanes and fires, forests gnawed to ash. Relief? Soon and very soon. We're going to see hallelujahs flourish. Soon gonna see hallelujahs cascade. Soon the king gonna see fingers spear tipped over past due bills. Miracles truant, but soon, but soon, but soon. But the king soon, the king soon. Soon, 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 as this sister doves the aisles and pews and her first Sunday white, the king, soon as your dollar bill scrapes the plate, we're gonna see the king. We're gonna see the king soon, like a proclamation for a child's win, soon. Hallelujah, hallelujah, no more dying there. Win, no more dying there. Hallelujah, divine plan dome's destruction. Hallelujah, close for chaos. Hallelujah, we're gonna see. We're gonna see. Hallelujah, hallelujah. The king gonna see me. Gonna see soon. Soon, soon, soon. No more dying. Gonna see grace pickled for millennia spoils. All right, so that was the first one. This next one is called Thy Will Be Done, a Generational Curse. And for those folks who aren't familiar with like, you know, some prayer, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven, part of the Lord's Prayer. And this one does reference and allude to and speak about chronic illness, in case that's a challenging subject for some folks. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Thy will be done on earth as it is on earth as it is. Thy will be done. Hallowed be thy will be done. Give us this day thy will. Be done, be done, be done. I pray, be done. These spades that trench my insides, thy will a disease, be done, please, be done. Please thy will on earth as it is, still suffering. Hallowed be my faith. Our Father, deliver us from thy will. If thy will, I must wilt in this bed, this illness omnipresent as thy absence, as thy will. Put it in God's hands. I will. I will, I will, I will, I will pray. And I will beg. I will, thy will, smuggled on earth. Is it in heaven? Thy will, thy kingdom, give us, deliver us, please. Thy will be done. My vessel malfunctions. Is this thy will or thy negligence? This battle is thy battle. Brandish thy scalpel. Art as thou art in heaven. Design, decree this disease defunct in my body. Thy will stampedes as collapse. But I clasp to this prayer. The doctors are out of options. Thy will, another code blue. Thy will, the pandemic. Thy will be done. Be anything but a blade when another proclaims death and dying, God's plan. Hollow my will to heal what abrades my living until my living be done. All right, so now we've been through two of these, you kind of see how they roll with kind of like working with that little bit of text. So this next one is actually the first one I ever wrote before I really knew that I was going to end up putting 4 of these in the book, if they remain to be 4 by the time the book becomes a real book. And so this one is called I'll Beat Your Ass, A Generational Curse. And it's after a poem by my friend Daniel B. Summerhill, after a song by Kendrick Lamar. And so the repeated phrase for this, or repeated phrases for this one, are spare the rod, spoil the child, and then of course, I'll beat your ass. Spare the rod, spoil the child. Spare the rod, spoil the child. The child cowers before punishment. The child defies the maker. The child spoils. Spare the rod, spoil the rod. I'll beat your ass. The rod, I'll beat your ass. The rod, I'll beat the rod. Spare, spoil, I'll beat your ass. The rod, your ass. I was whooped and turned out just fine. Spoil the child, spoil the child, spoil the child, spoil the rod. And God said, I'll beat your ass. And God said, the rod. I'll beat your ass. God said, spoil. God said, spare none but Lot and his family. Spare none but Noah and his family. Spare none the rod, the switch, the belt, the extension cord. It's not abuse, it's just discipline. I'll beat your ass like my daddy beat my ass, like my mama beat my ass, like my granny beat my ass, like my granddaddy beat they ass, like the hand I raised to my daughter, then withdraw. Spare the child. Spare the child. Spare the child. Spare the child the rod. The smiting hand I inherited. Spoil the rod. All right, so last of these generational curses poems. This one is called "Because I Said So," which kind of follows this this parenting bit. So a big point of this book is kind of really getting to consider not only what a relationship to God has meant in terms of like, or in the idea of a God existing. So I'm not really still sure where I land on that in life. How does that like serve as a model for so many things in life? Like my understandings of like justice, suffering, and also like being a parent, because like so much of the ways in which even for like folks who maybe weren't raised in the most religious households, like that we think about how to be a parent is kind of based in like some Christian theology about, you know, what is right and proper in terms of correcting a child and what our place is, what our relation is to that. And some of this is heavily focused in the issues I have with the book of Job specifically, which is often used as like a way to explain like why we should just be okay with suffering, and that it's just like fine that you suffer and that God is making you suffer. So this one is called Because I Said So, a Generational Curse. And the epigraph is from the book of Job, chapter 38, verse 4. This is the New International Version translation. It says, "Where were you when I laid the earth's foundation? Tell me if you understand." And that was God's response when God finally decided to come down and like respond to Job being like upset about having his entire life destroyed. To say like, you have no idea how I do anything, so you have no right to complain. So this is Because I Said So, a generational curse. Do as I say, not as I do. Do as I say, not as I do. Do as I do. The opposite. Do because I said so. Because I'm the parent and you're the child. Because I scrub scum from tubs and toilets. Do as I say, because I toss the Eggos in the toaster. Do as I say, do as you do, because I do as I do, because I am the parent. You are, why? Because I work to pay the bills. Why? I bought these toys for you. Why? because I said so. That's why. That's why my 5 a.m. alarm creases the sleep you already interrupted 6 times. I put my book down to wipe your ass. Why? Because I said so. Because I said so. Because Daddy forgets you are 3 years old. Your world is a mass of mysteries. I must tidy. I must say so because you do as I do. When I lay these foundations, you orbit and watch, then say as I say when you giggle, okay, Daddy, now time for you to go to timeout. Because I do as I do. Because I said so. Because I'm your parent. Why? Ask me if I understand how, because I said so, bored my upbringing, and now I sow the saying in the field of your inquiries, and you do as I say. The obscurity in your response to my inquisition, why did you pour water on the floor? Did you leave the bathroom light on? Did you do as I do not explain? Just yell. Do as I say, you yell. I thunder from the heavens without wisdom to gift you, my ibis to teach you how to count clouds from the ground. Daddy's sorry. Daddy's sorry. Daddy wagered faith he could be the best daddy who ever daddied for you. I'm sorry. Do as I say because Daddy fails sometimes when he does as he does. All right, so I'm gonna close with this poem called Found. I don't know if I have any major backstory on it, but thank you all for rocking with me for these few minutes. Thank you to my fellow readers for doing such an amazing job so far, and for everybody else who's coming up. And again, huge thanks to Sarah for putting this all together. I know it's a lot of work. Found. The nature of the baptism depends on context rather than the size of the body of water. Whether I thrash or ease below the surface. Example, the Tallahatchie enforces its own rules for drowning in the kingdom of heaven. Either way, God awaits when I emerge from the drink, when the pressure relieves. Before the last droplets sputter on my lips, judgment affixes like a shackle and boulder. The point is, I'm still found. Vessel for bloat's cautionary tale to dangle in the ears of children. Believer. The finding matters less than how I was lost, whose attention drifted so that I might bobble longer than my lungs could participate in the spectacle. Fuck the salvation. Bless me with a compass, not parables. Speak me into poems someone dreams will outlive the body. I need to get a grasp on the image that modeled me to understand why in the font I can think only of drowning, God's hand bearing down on my chest. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much, Quintin. That was phenomenal. Everyone, you just heard the brilliant words of Quintin Collins. You can find more of his work at qcollinswriter.com. Wow, that was really brilliant. Thank you so much. Whew. Feels so good inside, y'all. This is amazing. I'm so thrilled to introduce our next awesome writer, Joe Hall. Joe Hall is a poet, critic, and junk bookmaker conducting a lifelong investigation into the intersections of labor, ecology, imagination, and structures of violence. Fugue and Strike is available now from Black Ocean. Find more at joehall.com. I also want to give a super special shout out to Joe for being here tonight while away from home in another country and joining us. And I really appreciate it. Everyone, please join me in welcoming Joe Hall.
All right. Thank you so much. That was incredible, Quintin, and so good to hear Kristin, Ashley, and Greggy. And thank you just for the relentless enthusiasm and energy putting this together. My disability keeps me from like hitting the road for extended periods of time, so these online spaces are really important. And Quintin, I thought of some God angst at the Puppet Museum, and I dropped that in the chat. So I've got a new book coming out today, People Finder Buffalo. But given Israel's accelerating genocide of Palestinians, which almost all of our institutions are complicit in right now, this book only matters as much as it can raise money. So if you buy the book, let me know. I don't need a receipt, just let me know. And I'll make a $5 donation to Samadoun Palestinian Prisoner Solidarity Network, or just go ahead and send money to those networks or whatever fundraiser Gaza Funds is currently spotlighting. And that is delightful. That is better than buying my book. So there we go. I live in Buffalo, and it's a place where the information infrastructure is largely collapsed. So people have fewer ways of knowing about their city, which makes it hard to get together, makes it hard to mobilize. And in that way, Buffalo is not much different than a lot of cities. And so this book, part of what I hope to do with it is just keep some of that information and stories in circulation. And the poems themselves are kind of about some of the most garbage people in Buffalo. It's kind of a crude book. You can see my spasmodic settler brain at work in it, given how it fails in its imagination. But anyway, it names a lot of names, following the poet Brandon Shimoda's idea that what those whose violence is sheltered by the current power structures, what they desire in regard to what they have done is the gift, the gift of oblivion. And they want that gift. And I don't think we should give it to them. And so the names in the poems you won't know. So you can fill in the names of the members of your own city or county power structure in this order: racist developer, white supremacist sheriff, crime panic business association, killer cops, neoliberal mayor, and maybe a few others in there as well. So let me get started. I'll tell you, there's a lot of violence in the poems at certain parts. Some of it's cartoonish, but it'll reach a climax in about 2 minutes. So if you want to tune out, you absolutely can and should if you need to. Here we go. 1. Can't dream the economy because it's good. They might repo the economy. Your bed is good. Can't dream because the economies might repo your good dreams. The economy is can't dream because you're good. They had the bad to get a second economy to make the rent that the body dream can be free. We're all economies. Somebody are free. The common in that freedom economy communion only dream in that repo freedom in that freedom repo only can be. 2. Carl P. Key hangs out at JT's fungus mouth. JT's Normie Horror Value Cube Urban / JT's Carl Palladino hangs out at the dismal horizon of stage 4 Italian gentroids. You can 905 Elmwood bar fight. 3. Sheriff Tim Howard arrests Tim Howard for murder and spends the night looking the other way as Tim Howard knocks Tim Howard's head against the hardness of the Erie County Holding Center, whispering murderer, murderer, murderer. 4. The Allentown Arts Festival finds Allentown too queer, trans, butch, and non-binary and lodges a zoning complaint to evict Allentown from Allentown so Allentown can quietly be placking the dead, appropriately affluent Oregon. Oddly, that's the most controversial one in Buffalo. 5. Officer Tedesco stops Officer McAllister outside of his house in Kenmore, his house from which an American flag flies with one blue bar. Officer Tedesco demands Officer McAllister stop and show him his hands. Officer Tedesco then beats Officer McAllister within an inch of his life. So Officer Parisi, who was circling Mang Park, steps out of his vehicle and shoots Officer Tedesco 38 times. Officer McAllister and Officer Tedesco write a false report at the station. Officer Parisi writes a false report in hell. Narcotics Detective Joseph Cook, during a drunk no-knock raid on the police station, stumbles and kills Officers Parisi and Tedesco. They were all thrown a parade by the Minister of Flies. All the people come to shake their shining leather while the Chief of Police reads collaborative fiction. Applause.
That's fast. And what? Bada bing, bada boom, bada.
My mother said, "Aren't you worried the cops are going to read those poems?" I said no. I don't think they read poems. So this is about some developers. they kind of run the city. Louis and Paul Simonelli, developers. Simonelli by Simonelli from Simonelli by Simonelli from Simonelli on credit. What might be? Food flies into beds and trees, porches. 30-year-old Ken Moore cake baking ovens fly from Simonelli into Simonelli, from Simonelli to Simonelli. The big nothing, 58.9 million into nothing. Simonelli asked for more millions to pour into official-looking emptiness. Simonelli must walk Simonelli as Simonelli unhouses the void, hungry to change the rules so Simonelli can inhale more of the homes bleeding from the pinata of the city. The void Simonelli wax on the day of his sentence/release into the artificial extended downtown graveyard. Simonelli summoned for Simonelli from a river bend and broken stones of a city-owned parking lot, and repeat until Buffalo is a lonely concrete dome. Simonelli gropes through bleeding his memories into the terrible black hole that is his brother. Simonelli drags like a lead ball through every empty street, every empty house, every empty book, every locked door printed with this sutra: for rent, the only for rent. One, you, for rent, may know, for rent is yourself, for rent, Simonelli, for rent, for rent, for rent. Buffalo is the third poorest, I think, major city or biggish city in the country. And it's seen its share of tragedy in the last couple of years. And this poem is about the blizzard of 22, in which 41 people died. And the thing that struck out to me in regard to the mayor's response is that in the middle of the blizzard, while people were hungry, trapped in their homes, he went on the radio and the news to tell people, to castigate quote unquote looters. And so this is for the mayor. Blizzard of 22 kills 41. The mayor blames the dead for their death. Sorry. Mayor Byron Brown says, do not leave home. Do not go outside during the blizzard, while Byron Brown wraps himself in another blanket in 14 Blaine, where he just lost power in the howling, pounding, howling blizzard. Don't go outside, Byron Brown tweets, eating his last cold PB&J, fixings bought with the last 20 of his last paycheck, washing dishes, the only job he could land with his kind of record. Don't leave your house, Byron Brown whispers in the frost-stenciled dark as snow pours through the window frame, empty now that the blizzard has ripped away the duct tape cardboard that served as a frame. The landlord said he'd fix the day he put a $2,800 deposit in first month's rent down. Don't go outside, Byron Brown says to Byron Brown. As his phone dies, the snow doesn't. His stomach groans. His head separates from his head. Looters are the lowest of the low, Byron Brown says, pulling on his fifth shirt. Lowest of the low, as he just barely tugs on a pair of slacks around his other two pair of pants. Don't go outside, Byron Brown says to Byron Brown as he picks up a hammer, descends the unlit stairs, hovers behind the icy door. Lowest of the low, he whispers. Time passes. Lowest of the low. You climb the stairs. You open the door. You're doubled over by hunger. You get back under 3 blankets and a quilt. You trudge through waist-high drifts. You see your breath. You see your breath. Your feet are wet, and the wind splinters needles across your cheeks as you fall asleep and dreamless dream, trudging through your blankets as if an anchor, as if a shroud, toward Buffalo's golden corner, where an incandescent ball burns over a row of chips. You turn in bed. Onto what side? It's so cold. You're crowned in ice. Lowest of the low, Byron Brown says. Don't go outside, as his heart slows. His elbow barely registers. Numb-fisted hammer blows to the padlock on the gates between Byron Brown and his life. Lowest of the low, Byron Brown says to Byron Brown, weeping in the cold, weeping into his frostbite bloated fingers. Don't go outside, Byron Brown says to Byron Brown, and the cocoon of every fabric he owns. Lowest of the low, coldest of the cold. Byron Brown finds Byron Brown, ice encrusted on the press conference podium. All right. Thank you all so much.
Wow, Joe Hall, that was incredible. Thank you so much for sharing, everyone. You heard the amazing words of Joe Hall. You can find more of his work at joehall.com. His book dropped today, People Finder Buffalo, from Cloak Publishing. Thank you for sharing. That was excellent. I'm sweating, y'all. Oh, amazing. Thank you all so much. I'm really excited to introduce our next writer. It is a joy for me to introduce Exodus Oktavia Brownlow. Exodus Oktavia Brownlow is a Black Hawk, Mississippi native writer. You may find her and more of her work at exodusoctaviabrownlow.com. I first read Exodus's amazing fiction chapbook, Look at All the Little Hurts of These Newly Broken Lives and the Bitter Loves, which is from Ethel Zine, which does these really gorgeous handmade books. And I'm really thrilled to have her here tonight reading her work. Please join me in welcoming Exodus Oktavia Brownlow.
Hi, everybody. Sarah, it's such an honor to be here tonight. This reading has filled me with so much joy, and I've just been smiling and feeling so good this entire night. And it's been one of the best readings I've ever attended. So I'm so happy to be here. And thank you to my fellow writers as well for your incredible work and performances. They have been so inspiring. I'm gonna attempt to read 3 pieces, but I really like to be respectful of the time, so I might do just 2. We'll see when I get to number 2 and just see how that works out. So I'm gonna be reading this essay that's from my essay collection. I'm afraid that I know too much about myself now to go back to who I knew before, and oh Lord, who will I be after I've known all that I can? This essay is called For Horror Writers Who Have Tried to Birth the Happy Things. And when I saw Sarah's pumpkin in the background, I was like, yeah, I gotta read this one. Cause this is for my Halloween girls, my Halloween lovers. There are many of you in my purse and many in my wastebasket and so many of you on my floor. In bed, I sit up sometimes staring at your crumbled bodies, sometimes reaching for one of you because I think I want to see you from an uncrumbled place, my children. I want to see your talons, your blood, and your teeth. And maybe you are better now. Maybe you are the right kind of beautiful. I tell only to myself, just let them breathe, girl. Just let them feed from your breast a little. You have 2 of them, and you have not let them even nestle at your nipple once, nor have you let them sleep in the crook of your neck. Let them almost whisper their first words before you crumble their bodies back up at least. I think only to myself, but I've seen what you could be when you grow up, and you're only tiny terrible now and not so beastly bad. People might say that you are cute when I point to you in the crowd, when I proudly claim that you are mine. I know only to myself, but oh, if I let you live, the terror you would bring. And what would the neighbors say, and my folks, to know that I can birth such things, to know that this is the kind of mother I have set out to be? Where is your softness, they demand? Where are the delicate curls amongst your mangy mess? Where is the God in you? All that they can see is the devil in you, and they feel that there's enough of that in the world already. They complain, your children have such foul mouths when they speak. It makes our ears bleed. It makes our mouths so salty. They cry too much and too often for our liking, so please numb their teething a little by rubbing rum on their gums so that we can all sleep more soundly at night. Shape your babies' heads while they're still soft enough to be molded and tape a quarter to their belly buttons. Shave them bald so that their hair may grow out right next time. Why is it that my body can't produce the princesses? Why is it that only trolls come from out of me? I have tried, but the princesses never come out right. They are all scaly and misshapen and sickly looking. They crave poison under their pillows and not peas. It is better for you to be what you are and ugly than to be something that was meant to be pretty and not so at all. There's nothing more terrible than to be something that is grotesque, that was meant to and expected to be beautiful. If I put you in the bathtub, would you swim, my darlings, or would you eat up all the soap and drown? Would you die and come back as battered ghosts to torment the ones that I love too? If I place a pillow over you instead of under, would your wails echo loud enough to hoist them away? I'm asking you all the questions as if you have all the answers, but aren't I the older one here? And shouldn't I already know? But I'm hoping that since you have taken all of my innocence, and in being new, you can see in a new way too, some knowledge that is lost to me. I have thought of all the ways to kill you, and each one only brings you back worse. I have thought of all the ways to live you, and for I know how you began and where you were meant to start. And wouldn't they all be surprised to know that before you were the villain, you had been born good? Would they love you as much as I do then? Would they understand that a little bit of tiny terrible exists within us all? Would they see themselves inside of you and in the same ways that I do? Ice and fire all set against the brown in your eyes. Oh, my monsters, your tongues are as sharp as your teeth. I have set out to live with you and only you at night in this room, and it is fine that it is only us, but could you please be a little gentler when I nurse you the next time? I want to kick your fathers in their teeth, Peel, Rice, Stevenson, for leaving me pregnant with the idea of you, to birth you on my own. My body is stretched out from the weight of carrying you, and my eyes have grown dark from the late nights of caring for you, but they always say that there will be moments that will make it all worth it. And really, you will miss them when you grow old and forgetful, when they were this small and precious. When I was drunk and overly confident and willing to take a risk, a few of you found your way out of the crumbled pile, found your way into someone's home who had mistaken you for sweet orphans for them to adopt. You had gone inside, all smiles and charm, and wiggled your way into their hearts and warmed your way into their beds and weaponized their love. You burned their houses down with them still inside, and they became your companions, your forever ghost friends. It makes me happy that you will have someone to take care of you when I cannot, who will remember what your favorite foods were and feed them to you with their own hands. In bed, when I am able to rest, when a lot of you have held your screens for me to tend to tomorrow, deep cuts rest on my fingers for where they have served as your pacifiers. Okay, so that was an essay from my book, and now I'm going to read a little bit of fiction as well. This is from my chapbook, Look at All the Little Hurts of These Newly Broken Lives and the Bittersweet Sweets and Bitter Loves. I never know what I want to read during a reading. I always just go by the vibes. So I think I'm going to read, well, I know I'm going to read. I'm just trying to find it at the moment. I'm going to read a piece called Cauliflower is Just What Happens to Broccoli When It Dies. I want to read this one because I just feel like people are all deserving of a love where we're just accepted as we are, and in moments where we're not at our quote-unquote best selves, that we have a partner, that we have a love interest, that we have even family and friends who support us in those moments of vulnerability. So again, this is called Cauliflower is Just What Happens to Broccoli When It Dies. Husband finds wife sitting on the kitchen floor, knife in hand. Let me help you. Wife wipes away at all the whatevers, tears, snot, crumbs, wipes her face hard enough to make herself look right again. No, I got it. When wife chops through the squeaky spine, lets the bleached thing crumble to bits and bounce against the brown board, wife says, it's just dead broccoli. Husband keeps forgetting to not buy things that remind wife too much about death, about dying. But dying is all wife ever thinks about. It's cold and dense like bones, wife explains. See? And when she bends away at the branches, they pop, break. Husband keeps forgetting that once wife told husband how badly it was that they fed their bodies with dead things when their bodies were already decaying things themselves. What will live on then in the end when there's nothing left to feed off of the other? Wife is holding cauliflower skull in her palms, cutting into it and trying not to think about how it all has lobes, hemispheres, a stem. Cutting into it because husband has done all the cooking lately. Cutting into it because though it is killing her to do this, she's desperate to honor their vows, in sickness and health, till death do us part. I can do this, wife reassures husband. Be amongst the dead triggers, like the doctor said. Let them float in my head without trying to reach for them. Before they learned what it was, the thing that had gone differently in her mind, husband had yelled, grab me, grab me, grab me, grab me. I am alive, I am living flesh. Wife scrambled to a closet, whispered through its spaced slits, no, you are dying. Every day you die a little. You leave slivers of shed skin on the pillow, and when I roll over onto it, I breathe it in. I inhale your death and somehow make life from it. Husband ends up finishing the cauliflower. Plans to pair it with things that cauliflower goes best with, like chicken thighs, topped with sauteed bell peppers, julienne, and roasted red potatoes, quartered and rosemaried. It's just a ghost broccoli, wife wails from their bedroom, from her closet. It's just a ghost. Husband chops through the squeaky spine, lets the stank of it spill and spool out. He thinks about how cauliflower and coffin sound a bit alike, sound just about the same. And I think I have a little time to read one more. Okay, good. Thank you, Sarah. I wanna read something that's a little bit sweeter. This is a flash fiction piece as well. And it's called Technically I'm a Poet Now, and so I think it's my turn to write something about the moon. I think that the moon must be a pie. Some nights when I look up, someone has taken a piece from out of it, has skinnied it up by feasting on its fullness. I know that the moon is a pie because it is made with crust, and things made from crust are supposed to be filled up, to be given back to. But all we ever do is take from the moon, to feed our craving eyes that try to carve out a more beautiful world, to drown the bad thoughts under its sweeping earthshine, to make desperate poets less desperate and average poems less average. I nightmare about the moon being a pie because I think I know that the moon must be hungry too. If it has become our mule moon muse for all of our greedy human ways, it must have some of our same needs. A mule moon muse cannot sit perfectly prettily still on the sky's inly pedestal without a sip of water or a soft cotton napkin pressed to its glistening brow. I nightmare about the moon being a pie because if no one has enough will to at least leave a crumb of a crater behind, soon there will be nothing left to take. I dream about the moon being a pie, and when I look up again on the new night, I see that it is a slim silver, a scoop sliver that it has saved entirely for itself, shelved too high, edges too sharp, for us to swipe the last of it away. Thank you so much.
Wow, thank you so much, Exodus. Everyone, you just heard Exodus, Oktavia, Brownlow. It was absolutely wonderful. You can find more of Exodus's work at exodusoctaviabrownlow.com. That's EXODUSOKTAVIABROWNLOW.com. Thank you very much. Wonderful. Wow. Well, it is my great joy to introduce our final reader of the evening, Danika Stegeman. Danika Stegeman's first book, Ablation, was released by 1111 Press, November 1st, 2023. Her first book, Pilot, 2020, was published by Spork Press. She's a 2023 recipient of a grant from the Barbara Deming Memorial Fund. She's an assistant editor for Conduit and does light bookkeeping for Phonograph Editions. Along with Jace Britton, she co-curates the virtual collaborative reading series, It's Copperhead Season. Her website is danikastegman.com. I had the pleasure of virtually meeting Danika through a mutual pal and awesome writer, William Erickson, who's here tonight. Hi, Will. Thank you for being here. And Danika's book, Ablation, continually blows my mind in the best way. So I'm really pleased to have her read with us tonight. Please join me in welcoming Danika Stegeman.
Thank you, Sarah, and thank you all. This has been like a really amazing reading. And I appreciate spending time with all of you in this space and hearing you. I do just want to say a couple things. Exodus's book is somewhere in my giant stack of Ethel's right behind me. I'm holding a rock that's shaped like a moon, and Joe Hall wrote a sonnet on dollar bills and jammed them into a jar. And that's been sitting right behind me. It's awesome. Okay, that's all. I'll start reading now, I promise. So I'm gonna read one thing from the book Ablation, and then I'm gonna read you something that's newer, that's not like super new, but it's at least more recent. But first, I'm gonna just read, I've been reading this book of essays by Alice Notley that came up from the Song Cave in the fall, called Telling the Truth as It Comes Up. And I've been sitting with this quote from one of the essays for like a week now. And I feel like it's relates to what I'm gonna read. So I'm just gonna read this excerpt from Alice's book first. It's pretty short. Was there an event in your past? Is there one in your present that feels like a murder? Why are women murdered in a good 2/3 of the books I read, or stalked and threatened? Why the obsession with the serial killing of women, with pedophiliac abuse, particularly of girls? I began some time ago to ask seriously the question, have I been murdered? And might conclude from this year's reading that I have, that all women have, were murdered a long time ago, that is the earliest murder, not the murder of Abel, for example. My response to recent crime fiction, as a poet who is supposedly a woman, has been to turn the form around, use it against the murderer whose name is you. So thanks to Alice for that. The poem I'm going to read out of Ablation is called The Nothing. I'm just going to give you a content warning that it refers to rape, to childhood sexual abuse, and to domestic abuse. If you need to take care of yourself and pop out, I totally understand that. It also tends to suck the air out of the room or rooms, various rooms. So I just want you all to take a deep breath with me before I read, if you will. 1, 2, 3. And blow it out. Okay. The Nothing. The Nothing wears a flaming crown. The Nothing drinks Zima. The Nothing knocks on my sister's door and climbs into her, lungs first. The Nothing slips my brother a knife. The Nothing gives my brother a wife. I swallow scarves for the Nothing and pull them from my throat, relentless. The Nothing breaks horses, gagged with spit slick metal bits. The Nothing's got the gold fever. The Nothing drives a white Lincoln town car with a burgundy leather interior. The Nothing accumulates 8 DUIs and 7 ex-spouses, sons of bitches to a number. The Nothing pulls you into this world with forceps. The Nothing boils hot dog water for gravy. The Nothing's outside the bathroom door when my mom's father puts his dick in her 3-year-old hands. The Nothing jams balled up socks in her mouth. The nothing ignores her muffled screams when her stepfather rapes her at 15. The nothing marks you for future abuse and then abandons you. The nothing bruises your body and forgets. The nothing survives being doused in gasoline. The nothing palms my matches. The nothing snuffs faces from photographs. The nothing keeps a list of atrocities and abominations. Mountain lions, they're on the list. The nothing is an adherent of trench warfare. The nothing carries a baseball bat. The nothing files frivolous lawsuits and wins. The nothing takes the money. The nothing takes the money. The nothing always takes the money. The nothing haunts me down several highways. You wake up in a cold sweat next to the nothing outside a carnival in Florida. The nothing applies its face before a lighted mirror. The nothing bathes in baby oil. The nothing plays "In Heaven There Is No Beer" on an omnichord during the witching hour. The nothing hits a royal flush and fans the money before you on matted carpeting. The nothing safeguards an antique harmonica in a puzzle box. The nothing plucks its eyebrows to wisps. The nothing values thinness. The nothing eats little. The nothing lets you starve yourself. The nothing blacks out and spins nests from sugar. Having been beautiful, the nothing covets beauty. The nothing perches on a cushion. The greatest injustice is that you cannot outlive the nothing. The nothing emerges from the desert half wraith. The nothing bears its own fist-shaped wounds. The nothing's carpal bones are fused at the wrist. The nothing walks quietly. The nothing builds terrariums. May we all have the grit to openly drag the boat motors of our would-be rapists across their lawns and into our garages, tarnished in starlight like the nothing. The nothing scrubs floors on padded knees. The nothing perfects bread. The nothing perfects pie crusts. If a dish comes out imperfect, it goes in the trash. The nothing accepts no objections. The nothing coats twigs and pine cones in metallic spray paint for meticulous crafts you're not invited to partake in. The nothing excels at tiddlywinks. The nothing sends you home with French toast and jam to feed you for weeks. The nothing will not abide you drinking coffee reheated in a microwave. The nothing tells you you're descended from Danish royalty, the dark Danes. The nothing keeps a tidy house. The nothing gnashes its teeth. The nothing wears a mouth guard to bed. The nothing drinks alone in the pines. The nothing nurses delusions of grandeur. The nothing does not wish to be called what it is. The nothing has business ideas. The nothing is flanked by German shepherds. The nothing cages a bluebird of happiness. I tried to dispel the nothing by changing my name. The nothing once sang in a country western band. The nothing bequeaths you a lacquered guitar. The nothing is a gifted raconteur. The nothing leaves cigarettes burning. The nothing cries only for itself. The nothing clutches at a gold crucifix around its neck. So that's from Ablation. Thank you for sharing that with me. I'm gonna read something that's newer from a project called Wheel of Fortune. The plan is I found a Rolodex at an open air flea market in Springfield, Ohio, and the plan is to write the poem onto the Rolodex. It's a book length poem. This section of it is coming out with some other bits in the journal A Dozen Nothing, A Dozen Nothing, in June. So can look for it there. So this is just from Wheel of Fortune. So specific, the dust. How does one make the void felt? I clasp my hands behind my back because it opens my heart. A woman strips nude and wades into the river as I cross the bridge, plank by plank. I don't look at her. Don't call it mercy. Hold flowers against your body. Describe the hands of someone you love. Lace plaster and rebar, the cupped palms of my breasts, and reinforced and given up in diffuse pains and infinite knots. If a cycle is an occurrence or a series of occurrences wherein events or phenomena repeat themselves in the same order or at the same intervals, then cycles exist in many forms. Tree rings, mycelia, the room you invite me into. Cloth on the wind pulled into cloud, or time is relentless. Turn as you're taught. Open your eyes and look down. Your organs are showing. Crack the wishbone. Threaded rods and patches of mortar. The compression of individual agency and the myriad ways we're surveilled. How we learn our bodies don't belong to us. As teenagers, my cousins traded sex for cigarettes, GPCs, shit sticks, not even Marbs. Extended laughter, foiled chewing gum wrappers, hairspray encrusted curling irons. Illustration of an exposed nerve and several skulls. How to unknit a garment while you're still wearing it. What defines water? The vessel splits open, blood accumulates. The tumors begin to flower, to scope outward, irradiate. His raw throat, his flayed skin, his swollen tongue. The insects and the highway's racked hum. Please, don't speak. I am begging you not to speak. Let's wash our hands. My love is a debt. My love is an expenditure I give, and the crossroads and the milkweed pods split bitter. There are ways to measure time. Clouds of plastic and burning forests and pliers for pulling teeth. That's that. Thank you.
Wow, that was absolutely incredible. Thank you so much, Danika, for sharing. Everyone, you just heard the words of Danika Stegeman. You can find her on her website, danikastegman.com. That's DANIKASTEGEMAN. Wow, everyone, I really want to sincerely say thank you so much for being here tonight, for creating this space, for sharing your time and your energy and your words and your love with me and everyone here tonight. Gregory, Ashley, Kristin, Quintin, Joe, Exodus, Danika, I really greatly admire you, and I thank you for joining me tonight. Thank you also to the wonderful audience that joined us live. I think it's amazing that I had to turn off the volume of my computer because the chat was blowing up with everybody quoting lines and picking out just beautiful words and really getting so much from this experience. I'm really grateful. Thanks especially to Will for being here, Kay Weber, my parents, thank you very much. If you are interested in being on a future episode of Words and Friends, I'd love to have you. Please reach out to me on Instagram at Skeletor's Mom, because I never thought I'd be using it professionally, or on Blue Sky. I would love to end this evening in a way similar to Tom Snarsky, who's a brilliant poet. He does the reading series Nightlight. I'm just going to read a very quick micro poem by the wonderful June Jordan. These poems, they are things I do in the dark, reaching for you, whoever you are. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here tonight, and I will see you soon. Sending love. Thank you.